Thank you for listening and supporting the Daily Memphian. Sign up for one of our many free newsletters and breaking news alerts at dailymemphian.com/email to receive the latest local news stories impacting our community. Our weekly newsletters cover everything from sports to arts and culture, business, food, and more, along with daily updates of all the news we publish each day. Sign up or manage your email preferences at dailymemphian.com/email.
I'm Bill Dries with the Daily Memphian. We are joined by Shelby County Mayor Lee Harris. This is On the Record. We record June 6th, 2023, from the Daily Memphian newsroom, where meetings, conversations, and other podcasts are underway that you may hear in the background occasionally. Mayor, we record this about 10 hours after the Shelby County Commission voted down a proposed wheel tax hike and voted it down twice. That wheel tax, as you know, was key to a proposal to finance the county's $350 million toward a rebuild of the Regional One Health campus, as well as the construction of 2 new high schools in Fraser and Cordova. So the morning after, tell me what's next. What's on the horizon for this?
Well, we're certainly not going to give up our struggle to make sure that there is investments in our urban core and to make sure that people who need access to healthcare actually get it. I mean, these are top priorities of my administration and consistent with what I ran on. And Regional One has been around for the last couple of hundred years in a variety of iterations. I think most people around here know it as John Gaston, one of the places where African Americans would go for healthcare. It's a place that continues to serve those who are underinsured or without insurance at all and are particularly vulnerable, and it continues to deliver first-rate care. And so it's an asset that this community needs, and we want to make sure that it endures. And so we're not going to stop fighting for Regional One, and we're not going to stop fighting for our neighborhoods. We know that, the Fraser community has just made great strides for the last 10 years and really built up its capacity for leadership and for growth. And I want to commend the Fraser people for coming out. They came out and spoke on behalf of their community and the fact that it needs investment. I want to commend the patients that came out. The patients came out in support of Regional One. And, obviously they were, tears and a lot of crying that the deal didn't get done last night. But I would tell all those that came out, the patients, the students, and the advocates for community, to not be deterred, that this fight will go on. And one way or another, we're going to get what this community needs. We're going to fight hard to, force, if we have to, for this commission and these commissioners to live up to their responsibility to support and advance Memphis and Shelby County.
Mm-hmm. Is the wheel tax done as far as you're concerned? Because on the one hand, the commission voted down the wheel tax increase twice. On the other hand, it was short just one vote of the 9 needed on that second vote. Well,
I think, I don't know if there are additional votes out there. I think that, based on what we heard from those who were opposed to this, that they didn't, really support the Regional One project, didn't have faith in the regional project, or whatever the phrasing was. And, so I don't know how you persuade individuals around the importance of Regional One. And the comments that we heard around this project to invest in Regional One and to expand opportunity to Black businesses that would probably be, called to the show in order to participate in the construction project were, depressing. Because if this community can't agree on investing in a public hospital, if this community doesn't have faith in our institutions to get projects like this right and to build a high school that's sorely needed and in a community that hadn't seen that kind of investment in more than 10 years, then it's a sad state of affairs. So, but to your point about in terms of the next steps, I mean, I've always said that I'm open to all ideas to fund Regional One, as long as it's not, the magic money stuff. I don't want to do the magic money stuff because we know where the magic money formulas get us. They get this community. They do not lead to this community getting the resources that it needs. And we continue to deal with the same sort of problems year after year after year, because and pretend like we've done something when it's really just some smoke and mirror magic show. And I don't want a smoke and mirror magic show. And so, to your next question, Bill, the options are will tax and property taxes. We've said that's from the beginning. It's property tax or will taxes. So we've exhausted the will tax last night, and I don't expect it'll come back. And so, at this point, I expect that the commission will entertain a property tax increase in order to fund these projects. And the question there is whether or not the votes for that. And, we'll just have to see.
And the term magic money that you used, I think, but you confirm for me, you're talking about what's happened in past budget seasons where the commission cobbles together some kind of financing that's usually one-time money. And so the problem's there the next year after you get the money together for that, right?
Yeah, there are all kinds of tricks and so forth that folks use. And, this isn't complicated. If you have the revenue, like real cash, hard cash, you can invest in your community and you can advance the public interest. This isn't complicated. And, they tie themselves in knots sometimes talking about, who's the best magician. And that kind of stuff is irrelevant. I don't think any of us are interested in those kind of contests. I think we're only interested in hard money that can be used to create more access to healthcare and to invest in communities that have been neglected for too long. And so that's your will tax, that's your property tax. And so at this point, I expect that, like I said, we're open to ideas. And at this point, I expect that the conversation will move to the property tax because these issues are just too critically important to stop. And so we're not going to stop.
Okay. This would be about what, 17, 18 cents more on the property tax rate to do this?
So we haven't had that debate yet. As you know, I thought that the will tax had a lot more capacity because we hadn't raised the will tax in 22 years, and our car registration fees as a community are relatively low. And so 22 years, we haven't raised it, and the car registration fees are supposed to be used for infrastructure. So schools, hospital, roads, transit, and so forth. And when you don't raise your car registration fee process in 22 years, you are going to have your infrastructure needs, you're going to leave your infrastructure needs neglected. And so that's kind of where we were as a community. Our infrastructure has been neglected. If you don't believe me, drive around in a car, sit in a classroom, or try to, or find yourself in a waiting room at the emergency department in Region 1. And you'll learn all you need to know about the neglect that has gone on for year after year in terms of investing in these communities. I think people are tired of it. People are tired of their communities not seeing the investment that they need. They're tired of seeing the focus only being on the downtown area. I think people are tired of, politicians playing games and tricks and so forth. And when they get an opportunity to really advance the community interests, to put their head in the sand and give a good speech, but not do what their job is, which is to vote to support the community's interests.
You talked earlier about that you might be able to force something to happen here. What would that look like? What's available to you in that regard?
Well, I think we brought together a pretty terrific team around Regional 1 and around Fraser. You saw evidence of that last night. We brought some of the experts on minority contracting to the table. We brought the patient advocates and the community stakeholders, groups like the Moral Budget Coalition and MICA. More or less everyone in the community either supported this project or understood its importance, right? Republican to Democrat. I mean, you saw the massive outpouring of support that something get done during this budget cycle. So there may be, 2 or 3 people that opposed the project, but the unfortunate news for our community is those 2 or 3 people are on the county commission. And so at this point, our options are a property tax increase. And so, I've always said we're open to ideas, and basically the ideas were those 2, will tax and property tax increase. And so I continue to be open to ideas, and we'll continue to make the same march because keep in mind, Bill, the other piece of this that's out there is because we've cobbled together such an incredible team and such an incredible message, is that we've got a pretty good chance of unlocking state resources to support the Regional 1 rebuild. And that's going to be massive for this community as well. And so we don't want to miss this opportunity to unlock those state resources. We don't want to miss this opportunity to invest in this community's infrastructure and really, get something done. I think the people in Fraser are, beside themselves. But end of the day, we're resilient. We're tough people. I mean, they say we're gritty for a reason, and it's because no matter how hard you throw us down, we're going to bounce up even higher, and we're going to keep our focus on what's needed.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the state. The state legislature, Governor Lee's administration have been watching what happens here pretty closely. What do you think happened? I mean, do you know how last night's votes are being regarded in Nashville on this front?
I don't know, but I can guess that it's not good. I think that every expectation from the Nashville crowd is that we would understand the importance of making this investment. And when the leadership moment comes, that we would step into it. And, that didn't happen. And so I think that, that's a setback. That's a setback, no doubt about it, in terms of our ability to make the case in Nashville. But let's just face that bridge when we come to it. Let's see if we can get the money locally. We know what the options are. People got a lot of speeches out of their system, and for whatever reason, that seems to be a really, really important thing around here. So they've got the speeches out of their system, and so now, hopefully, people are prepared to do the work. And when I say the work, I mean support and vote on projects and ideas and policies that you campaigned on. And I think almost everyone on the county commission campaigned on things like access to healthcare and investments in neighborhoods and investments in schools. And so if we can't do that, we betray, all those commitments that we made to get to these offices in the first place.
Okay. A final point. The county commission next gets together next week on Wednesday. Will you have something new for them at those committee sessions?
Well, I'm not running an ice cream parlor, and my job is not to, continue to let customers taste the various flavors, at their pleasure. My job is to try to lead as best I can, and the burden is on other elected officials and this commission to also lead. So and you can't lead in the way we've seen so far. So yeah, I'll be there, and I'll be doing my part, reminding them of their obligation to lead in this moment and to support our community. But it's not all on me, because we have got to get to a place in this community where we have a set of elected officials that are really committed to advancing the community's interests.
All right. We've been talking with Shelby County Mayor Lee Harris. I'm Bill Dries, and this has been On the Record.
In-depth journalism in the Memphis community, the Daily Memphian is of Memphis, not just in Memphis, and seeks to tell the stories of this city. TheDailyMemphian.com. Truth in place.